Tree Grows in Brooklyn, Chapter 5. Mama came home at 6 with Aunt Sissy. Francie was very glad to see Sissy. She was her favorite aunt. Francie loved her and was fascinated by her. So far, Sissy had led a very exciting life. She was 35 now, and she had been married 3 times and had given birth to 10 children, all of whom died soon after being born. Sissy often said that Francie was all 10 of her children. Sissy worked in a rubber factory and was very wild as far as men were concerned. She had roving black eyes, black curling hair, and eye clear color. She liked to wear a cherry-colored bow in her hair. Mama was wearing her jade green hat, which made her skin look like the cream off the top of the bottle. The roughness of her pretty hands was hidden by a pair of white cotton gloves. She and Sissy came in talking excitedly and laughing as they recalled to each other the jokes they had heard at the show. Sissy brought Francie a present, a corncob pipe that she blew into, and a rubber hen popped up and swelled over the pipe bowl. The pipe came from Sissy's factory. The factory made a few rubber toys as a blind. It made its big profits from the other rubber articles, which were bought in whispers. Francie hoped that Sissy would stay for supper. When Sissy was around, everything was gay and glamorous. Francie felt that Sissy understood how it was with little girls. Other people treated children like lovable but necessary evils. Sissy treated them like important human beings. But although Mama urged her, Sissy wouldn't stay. She had to go home, she said, and see if her husband still loved her. This made Mama laugh. Francie laughed too, although she didn't understand what Sissy meant. Sissy left after promising that she would come back on the 1st of the month with the magazines. Sissy's current husband worked for a pulp magazine house. Each month, he received copies of all their publications. Love stories, Wild West stories, detective stories, supernatural stories, and whatnot. They had shiny, colorful covers, and he received them from the stockroom tied up in a length of new yellow twine. Sissy brought them over to Francie just as they came. Francie read them all avidly, and then sold them at half price to the neighborhood stationery store and put the money in Mama's tin can bank. After Sissy left, Francie told Mama about the old man at Loescher's with the obscene feet. "Nonsense," said Mama. "Old age isn't such a tragedy. If he was the only old man in the world, yes, but he has other old men to keep him company. Old people are not unhappy. They don't long for the things we want. They just want to be warm and have soft food to eat and remember things with each other. Stop being so foolish. If there's one thing certain, it's that we all have to get old someday, so get used to the idea as quickly as you can." Francie knew that Mama was right. Still, she was glad when Mama spoke of something else. She and Mama planned what meals they'd make from the stale bread in the week to come. The Nolans practically lived on that stale bread, and what amazing things Katie could make from it. She'd take a loaf of stale bread, pour boiling water over it, and work it up into a paste. Flavor it with salt, pepper, thyme, minced onion, and an egg, if eggs were cheap, and bake it in the oven. When it was good and brown, she made a sauce from a half a cup of ketchup, 2 cups of boiling water, seasoning, a dash of strong coffee, thickened with flour, and poured over the baked stuff. It was good, hot, tasty, and staying. What was left over was sliced thin the next day and fried in hot bacon fat. Mama made very fine bread pudding from slices of stale bread, sugar, cinnamon, and a penny apple sliced thin. When this was baked, brown sugar was melted and poured over top. Sometimes she made what she had named Weg Geschnitten, which laboriously translated meant something made with bread bits that usually would have been thrown away. Bits of bread were dipped into a batter made from flour, water, salt, and an egg, and then fried in deep hot fat. While they were frying, Francie ran down to the candy store and bought a penny's worth of brown rock candy. This was crushed with a rolling pin and sprinkled on top of the fried bits just before eating. The crystals didn't quite melt, and it made it wonderful. Saturday's supper was a red-letter meal. The Nolans had fried meat. A loaf of stale bread was made into pulp with hot water and mixed with a dime's worth of chopped meat into which an onion had been cleavered. Salt and a penny's worth of minced parsley were added for flavor. This was made up into little balls, fried and served with hot ketchup. These meatballs had a name, frikadellen, which was a great joke with Francie and Neely. They lived mostly on these things made from stale bread and condensed milk and coffee, onions and potatoes, and always a penny's worth of something bought at the last minute added for Philip. Once in a while they had a banana, but Francie always longed for oranges and pineapple, and especially tangerines, which she only got at Christmas. Sometimes when she had a spare penny, she bought broken crackers. The groceryman would make a toot, which was a poke made out of a bit of twisted paper, and fill it with bits of sweet crackers that had been broken in the box and could no longer be sold as whole crackers. Mama's rule was, don't buy candy or cake if you have a penny. Buy an apple. But what was an apple? Francie found that a raw potato tasted just as good, and this she could have for free. There were times, though, especially toward the end of the long, cold, dark winter, when no matter how hungry Francie was, nothing tasted good. That was big pickle time. She'd take a penny and go down to the store on Moore Street that had nothing but big, fat Jew pickles floating around in heavy spiced brine. A patriarch with a long white beard, black skull cap, and toothless gums presided over the vats with a big forked wooden stick. Francie ordered the same as all the other kids did. "Give me a penny sheeny pickle." The Hebrew looked at the Irish child with his fierce red-rimmed eyes, small, tortured, and fiery. "Goyim! Goyim!" he spat at her, hating the word sheeny. Francie meant no harm. She didn't know what the word meant, really. It was a term applied to something alien yet beloved. The Jew, of course, did not know this. Francie had been told that he had one vat from which he only sold to Gentiles. It was said that he spat or did worse in the vat once a day. That was his revenge. But this was never proven against the poor old Jew, and Francie, for one, did not believe it. As he stirred with his stick, muttering curses into his stained white beard, he was thrown into a hysterical passion by Francie asking him for a pickle from the bottom of the vat. This brought on eye-rollings and clutchings of the beard. Eventually, a fine fat pickle, greenish yellow and hard at the ends, was fished out and laid on a scrap of brown paper. Still cursing, the Jew received her penny in his vinegar-scarred palm and retired to the rear of his store, where his temper cooled as he sat nodding in his beard, dreaming of old days in the old country. The pickle lasted all day. Francie sucked and nibbled on it. She didn't exactly eat it, she just had it. When she had had just bread and potatoes too many times at home, Francie's thoughts went to dripping sour pickles. She didn't know why, but after a day of the pickle, the bread and potatoes tasted good again. Yes, pickle day was something to look forward to.